Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Revolutionaries. I'm Jeff Damaris.
And I'm Tina Duryea.
And I'm Shannon Riley.
And welcome to this week's episode. We're going to talk about propaganda, media bias, and BS. That's our theme for today. The right-wing echo chamber. So I kind of want to start the discussion off on, of course, how this even happened in the first place. So I remember in the 90s with talk radio, that's kind of from where I could see it. You first saw the first growth of these weeds with Rush Limbaugh. But it couldn't have been done, I think, without the end of the Fairness Doctrine, which was around in the 80s and was stopped during the Reagan administration. So I'd like to, kind of start off on that. What was the first exposure you guys had to hearing or knowing about any of this bias? The first time you kind of saw, oh boy, there's something out there that's not so good.
I mean, I think what I think is most insidious about the right-wing echo chamber, and by the way, I also want to say we have to talk about the left-wing echo chamber.
Yeah.
But
yes,
let's start with the right-wing echo chamber, because I think that it's much more toxic. But the thing that was brilliant about it, and by the way, it is brilliant, is that it was a gradual thing. It was like that story about the frog being put in a pot of water and then the heat being turned on it gradually. So the first thing that I think of when I think of it is Fox News, which did not, first of all, Fox News came out when cable just started. And when it first came out, it was actual news.
Yeah.
And then at some point, I'm not quite sure when the shift happened, it became propaganda. And there was even that court case where they're like, Fox News has to call themselves an entertainment channel as opposed to a news channel.
Right.
And again, it's like I look at my own parents who were definitely have been swayed by Fox News. And it's so the gradualness of it is, I think, one of the brilliance of it.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember like growing up, like on snow days or like during like the summer, we would be at the neighbor's house and they would be listening to Rush Limbaugh, like just constantly. And if it wasn't Rush Limbaugh, then it was the the mega church, like the Christian. What was that woman, Tammy Faye Baker?
Oh my God, I forgot.
Do you remember her?
Oh my God!
Yes.
And that is what they would watch and listen to, like just as background noise.
Yeah.
Like that was background noise. I mean, my house, like we grew up watching Fox News. Like when my dad came home, we would do Fox News for like, a segment. Then we would flip over to watching the BBC. And we would watch that. Then we would flip back to Fox News. I mean, some of my most, I guess, pivotal like moments where like, I was watching history happen was through the lens of Fox News.
Wow.
Like watching Columbine. Like that whole thing, like I just came home, turned it on and like watched that. And like, I was a junior in high school doing that. And, watching like the Iraq war on there and all of like the commentary about like kind of like that, I guess, nationalism where it was like, we were going in there to save the Iraqi people. Like,
I remember actually watching that. I remember it because I don't like to admit it publicly.
We'll keep your secret.
But once upon a time, I was a Republican, okay? And so I did actually see Fox News. But I remember watching it at the time, and they had this graphic where after the war started, and they had this eagle fly by the screen.
Yes.
And the eagle would go, as it would fly by, like
yeah.
it would screech or whatever. And I'm sitting there going, okay, this is a little much, right? This is a little much. Yeah. So
But
watching it during that time,
that was my exposure to media at the time. Like not that like my dad was like conservative. I'm like, now I'm like, I look at him and I'm going, what happened to you? Like, you were more liberal when you were like working for the police department.
I'll say this: one of the appeals of Fox News and what I will call the right wing media, I don't even want to call it an echo chamber. It's more like a media. I don't know what the
lens.
Yeah, is that they actually explain things in really simple terms, and they dumb down the news so that again, I think we talked about this last week a little bit about how it's it makes things really simple. And so it's like a fourth grade level of understanding as opposed to...
I would say simplify the news rather than dumb it down. It sort of like really makes it streamlined language.
But they make it, they're really making it so that the widest possible, it's accessible to the widest possible audience, and doesn't challenge you. And so it's very palatable.
Right. My first exposure to hearing it was Rush Limbaugh. My dad used to listen to Rush Limbaugh. He hated Rush Limbaugh totally, but he listened to his show. But he would listen to it and get angry at it. And he would tell me, you should hear what they've said today, blah, blah, blah. And so, and then, watching Fox News, but there's an interesting thing I noticed, and you were talking about the simplification of language, and I think that's a part of it too, as absolutely a big part of it. But there's another thing that they do, and if you can, I can't really stand to watch any of it at all at this point, but because it's gotten so bad. I mean, it was always very biased before, but now it's just off the deep end, and we'll get into that later. But it's the way they do it. They have a very specific approach, and you can see it how it counters to what's done on CNN or what used to be MSNBC. Now it's MS Now. The hosts, especially their primetime hosts, when they talked to their audience, they looked right at their audience, and they weren't giving, it's different from how Rachel Maddow does her show. Rachel Maddow will talk, do it, but she's doing it as a presentation and telling what's happening and giving her opinion and all of that stuff. Well, if you contrast that to, say, what Sean Hannity does, Sean Hannity is talking to the individual audience member, and he's using the simplified language to do it. And he's also using sort of these outrage points to kind of, get that. And so what happens is that the audience member, the person watching, feels that they have a personal connection with the Fox News host. And they go, like it used to be Bill O'Reilly. His show ended with, we're looking out for you, the O'Reilly factor. We're looking out for you. And he'd have a little smile at the end. This guy never, smiles, but he'd have this little fake smile. And for a viewer, they're thinking, he's looking out for me.
Yeah. I also think something that should be addressed in terms of like the Fox News power is that it's everywhere. Like you go into, it's on every military base, which is a big problem. You go into stores and they have a TV on and it's always on Fox News. You go in it's just prevalent everywhere. You can't escape it. Like I don't actually have cable. I have never had cable in my entire adult life. So I don't watch any of the cable news shows, but like I see a lot, like I know what's going on Fox News because it's just everywhere. It's ubiquitous.
It's kind of, as you say, putting in a military basis. That's really not a good thing to do. Okay. You want to kind of keep it as, whatever you put on there. When I was in the military, I remember being in basic training, and I was at Fort Sill, and the only thing that they would have on any television, if you happen to be fortunate enough during basic training to see a television, which wasn't very often, was either Sports Center or CNN. That's what you'd see. And today, but that was 30 years ago. 29 years ago. Let's be real. It was 29. I shouldn't put it at 30 yet. It was 29 years ago. But now, today, if you're in that same situation, you're watching, you've got it. It's on Fox News. And even when during the Biden administration, that's what was on.
Yeah.
Just to make no sense. Okay. And even forget anything about being right wing, left wing, to put any kind of propaganda outfit on a military base is very questionable.
Right.
But there's also the fact that, as you say, it's very, very successful. It has done a remarkable job in convincing people of these, at times, just blatant lies and misrepresentations. And I want to kind of expand that a little bit beyond where Fox News is and go to local media. So you have groups like Sinclair, which are buying up local news stations. And I think another one is, I forget the other one. I think it's Nexstar or whatever, one that got in a dispute recently. I think it was with Jimmy Kimmel on airing his show or something, you know. And how they use talking points, like they'll literally give their anchors talking points. And then you'll see, and I remember seeing this video, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but a video where all of these anchors are giving the same exact talking points. And they're all conservative. It's all of them. There was a mishmash of about 20 of them on screen, and it would be then 30 of them on screen, and they're all giving the same, BS line. And that concerns me from a local news perspective, because we're losing a lot of local news.
Yeah.
A lot of local news outlets, newspapers are
we don't
going
have
away.
newspapers anymore. We have like the Patch, which the Patch might have someone who's an actual staff writer, but much of it is written by just regular people that are just contributing Patch media. But like when you think about like how things are like disappearing and everything, like Tina, you mentioned you don't have like cable news. Like I don't have cable either, but like in the morning when my alarm goes off and I turn off I don't even know if she's around, but that the device that talks to you, you can set it so that like it gives you like a morning routine. So my morning routine is set and it, gives me Reuters right in the morning. Yeah. Because like I sat there and I thought like, okay, if I'm going to listen to the news, which news do I want to listen to? And I figured, okay, Reuters would probably have like the least amount of bias. Because they're supposed to be like, a world kind of broad thing. And then I would put on like Comedy Central, like for like the next thing, like, cause I'm like, I needed to hear like the truth. And then I needed to laugh about it because like, it's so miserable.
Oh
like,
yeah.
But yeah, the local piece, like, it comes down to now like a lot of like influencers and bloggers are who we're getting our news from, like locally or just like in general. Like that's,
I think I love that you thought about who would be the best news to get, your morning news from, because I think being really intentional about where you get your news is something that too many people they're looking for entertainment. They're looking for outrage. They're not looking for facts. And news, there's a big difference, a world of difference from opinion news, which people seem addicted to, and actual editorial news. And Reuters, have you seen that there's this thing, there's a chart?
Yes.
By ad
media.
Yeah. And it tells you where bias is. Yeah. And I know
Love
Reuters
that.
is near the top, in the middle as being unbiased and really reputable.
Right.
I also... So here are my news sources. Reuters is definitely high up there, but I also go to France 24.
Okay.
I like to get my news outside of the United States whenever possible. So if I'm looking at my news, I'd go to France 24. I look at The Guardian. I know that it's not perfect, but it's again another perspective.
Yeah.
I do rely on the New York Times. It is, forget their opinion page is crap. Every opinion page in the world is crap.
Yeah.
There's no opinion news that I have any tolerance for. It's weird because we're all giving our opinions here.
Yeah.
Well,
We
that's
don't
why.
want to
That's
listen
why.
to anybody
Yeah.
else's
This is our
opinion.
opinion.
It's just,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
it's ours.
Exactly. And then, so I do read the New York Times, and I actually like to read on the weekends the physical paper.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I do miss that. It used to be you'd get, I was just thinking about this the other day, you'd get a Sunday paper and it'd be huge and thick and it'd have all sorts of,
Mhm.
stuff in it, whether it's your local newspaper or, the Times or something.
Yeah.
And now it's very, very different system, different environment. And I want to kind of pick back up on that point in a second here. We're going to go on to have a quick break. And on the other side of the break, we'll keep this discussion going. So we'll see you in a second. Okay, welcome back to the Revolutionaries. So one of the things, of course, that's important about the success of this propaganda machine has been the personalities involved. We mentioned a couple of them already, whether it's Rush Limbaugh or Sean Hannity or before Bill O'Reilly. And there's current ones today that we deal with just recently making, I guess, if you want to call it headlines, I don't know if I even want to dignify it with that, was Jesse Waters. I'll let you guys comment on what he said because it's more of a...
So where do we start? So, I think that the segment was starting about like the Pete Hegseth and his obsession with testosterone and how like we're going to have manly men for servicemen, etc. And like he started like kind of like talking about like how like some of the men were going to be like, tripling up on like, testosterone. And then the comment devolved into how first female service people should watch out, like, because like, men have like testosterone. They're going to be like, oh, like, whatever. And then he continued to like, then into an Asian fetishization of like, the women in the Asian ports, like all these men, and I'm like, it was literally, we're just sitting there watching rape culture,
Right.
Just to be part of a, again, that whole, I go back to Trump and the locker room talk and like all of that. And I'm like, it was disgusting.
It was horrifying.
Like, I get so upset over like the fact that like conservative culture also has that tie in of like, women just being there for male use.
Mm-hmm.
And, the having a media personality on like this talk show, like that we were talking about, just kind of like, just using it as a talking point. Like that was like, so disrespectful, so gross. I don't. I have to like tone it down here. Like,
don't tone it down at all.
No, don't tone it down at all. Like, I mean, like,
let the rage out.
Yes,
but like,
yes, this is the outlet.
Again, like, you're normalizing this by, saying, the military does have an issue where female military service people are at risk from their own, team members or just colleagues. You do have, this whole thing where, like during war crimes happen. One of those is rape. Like that.
Yes.
That happens.
Yes.
And like, we don't talk about it enough because like, it's just seen as like a casualty of war or just a side effect of war. But it's not, it's a crime.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a crime.
Yeah.
And do we prosecute these things? And we don't know that oftentimes because military tribunals are not as, transparent as other
As a regular court of law.
of law.
Yeah.
But for this guy to just be like, you know, like an offhand comment that like was
That's a sample. It's like the typical of this idiotic bro culture. Now that is also part of this whole right wing propaganda sphere. Did I invent a word there?
I wanted to say there was one point that really enrages me. I mean, the whole thing enrages me. I mean, I'm beyond livid about it. But what enrages me beyond is that he has no repercussions for saying that. He is literally, there is no pushback from the right. Fox News doesn't care that he said it.
Nope.
He has no slap on the wrist. He's completely accepted by it. And this sort of energy is pervasive in the right wing. And it feeds into when they have a president. That's why the right can elect a president. They can nominate him and elect him despite the fact that he has been accused in a civil court, that he's been tried and convicted in a civil court.
He's had to pay her money.
And he had to pay her money and the 34 felonies. And it's not just Trump. It's like so many. And the left has a lot of issues too, but at least when Graham Plattner and Eric Swalwell came, like when we learned about what they are doing, their careers imploded within a week. It took a couple days because it's shocking. And I actually don't have a problem with taking a couple days. But the fact of the matter is the two parties are not the same. No. And part of the reason that the right wing is so tolerant of this, why they're not forcing the Epstein files to be released. And can we do a whole show on the Epstein files?
Oh, yes.
But the whole reason that they're tolerant of this stuff is because of the right wing, the people like Jesse Waters not being held accountable.
Well, not only not being held accountable, but it's rewarded.
Yes.
For sure. The silence is in and of itself not just a sign of non-accountability, but it's also a sign of saying, hey, this is good. We like this stuff. Right. And you go and you look at what surrounds it. So you have the Tate brothers, who fortunately were arrested the other day.
I was like literally so excited by that.
I hope they don't slime their way out of it, but that was a great thing. But there's, I mean, that whole Rogan sphere, if you will, that's out there. Which is another part of this thing, because you have the Fox Newses and you have the Newsmax and you have, the certain elements of the talk radio world, which is like the Mark Levins and all those other clowns. But the more toxic part of it, to me, isn't in that Fox News stuff, because that stuff is really purely political for the most part. It's the cultural impacts of things in the Rogan sphere, where this bro culture is so it's real toxic masculinity.
Speaking about like Tate brothers, right? Like, because they're part of this in the Rogan sphere, as you call it. And the thing that's insidious about them is that the Tate brothers, they're not a political show. They actually were about empowering, like the way that young men have described it to me is that the show is appealing because he basically talked about feeling better about yourself, like empowering yourself, getting really fit, doing all this stuff, but also that sort of yucking it up about rape culture, obviously. But like they didn't, it's insidious because it comes at you sideways. Yeah. And, the right wing is, and we haven't really talked about social media, but this is where a lot of this stuff goes on, is that the right wing is incredibly strong when it comes to finding ways to slip in sideways when people are not expecting it. So if you think about the voting population, you think there's the right wing MAGA people, there's the left wing Democrats, and then there's the third largest voting bloc, which is people who don't pay attention. And the people who don't pay attention are the people that they're targeting to, and they don't target them by talking about politics, because these people don't want to talk about politics.
No.
They talk about trad wives. They talk about, empowering young men.
Yeah.
They
talk gaming culture.
Yeah. The gaming culture is a huge thing.
Yeah. I'm a mom of 4 boys. Do you know the amount of time that I spend Googling the influencers that they're watching as they're doing these,
which all moms of boys should be doing. If you're not doing it, you are missing out.
You are missing out. I've got to sit there and go through and deep dive and figure out okay, what is this person's views?
Yeah.
Because they're literally sitting there, they're gaming, but they're talking.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Or they're doing, oh God, what's his name? I hate him. It's a little blonde young guy. He's actually very popular or whatever, but like he sits there and he just does like these live streams where like he's listening to like a what is the, oh my God, well, I should have prepped for this, but like I wasn't planning this.
No.
But like he's listening to people like asking him questions,
Right.
and he's answering those questions, and you can see some of like the chat on the side, but like the comments that are coming from him like are just so random, because like you're not hearing the other side of like
So he's
what
just saying it.
he's just
and
saying.
so you don't know the context.
You don't know the context or whatever. But like my boys just watch him, and I'm going, you know, I looked at the older two that were watching this, and I was like, this guy's an idiot. Like
that's what I've detected on this. I've seen some of these.
need
Yeah.
to like not like be watching this. And they're like, but he's so cool. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, no.
I think it escapes. No, so I think it escapes now because it's so hyper targeted to guys, to or you know, but whether it's teenage men or teenage boys or men or whatever. And I think it's hyper targeted to them because they're playing on grievances and anger and all of this sort of stuff.
It is such a grievance culture.
It is very, very much so. And I've famously described famously in context, described in this show that I'm a white male. I don't get the appeal of all this nonsense myself. Like, to me, it's very much against the ideal of what I had been brought up to consider what masculinity was, which was to be thoughtful and considerate of other people, and to think of the greater good and the greater purpose of what you need to do with your life, and to help people in need. I don't understand this sort of the looks maxing nonsense that they're talking about. I mean, and we talking about this, how this is like, we're talking about media bias, and we're talking about, and so how does this play in? Well, this is all the undercurrent of this entire propaganda machine, because if you watch Fox News, you're engaged in politics. You're engaged in listening to politics. But as you say, so many people aren't engaged. How do you control those folks? Well, you go at them in a different direction. And this is the direction they've gone after it. So you have so-called comedians that, was it Tony Hinchcliffe, who was at this at the Republican convention insulting minority groups in a comedy act. I mean, ha ha ha. It to me, it's the antithesis of not just masculinity, I feel is what real masculinity is supposed to be, but it's also an attack on like humor. I mean, it is weaponizing a punching down comedy. And if you look at what Waters said, Waters was attempting to make a joke. He was using that as his hey, wouldn't it be funny? Look out, ladies. These testosterone-filled guys are gonna come in there, and you just better be careful. Like,
we're
that's
already
not
careful.
Fucking funny.
Yeah,
that is not funny. And I have a daughter. She's 20 years old. I worry constantly all the time, with the bro culture that's out there, and they're getting brainwashed into being completely alone. And the deeper that they watch this stuff and are influenced by it, the more they turn away a potential partner. And that leads to more grievance, that leads to more anger, and that leads to more voting for MAGA right-wing fascist types. And that's how we feed the beast for people who are not engaged in politics.
I think that there's a really important component to the right-wing media monopoly, or whatever it's called, which is that the right wing has very deliberately funded these people.
Yes.
Not just Fox News, which everybody knows. Oh yeah, the right wing, they bought Fox News, they bought the Wall Street Journal, blah, blah, blah. But people like these influencers don't come out of nowhere. The Looks Maxine guy, for example, clavicular. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right.
I can't believe that our culture has to have a conversation about this.
But okay.
Yeah, it's true. It's important.
He, how did he get to be so big is because Peter Thiel gave him startup money. These people don't come out of nowhere. And meanwhile, on the left, there is nothing like this. There is literally nothing where people who are trying to promote liberal values are getting funded by, Melinda Gates, for example. Let's talk about a good billionaire, to create social media that counterbalances this. There's no counterweight, is guess what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, I want to pick up on that because that's really important. We're going to take another break. And when we come back, we're going to pick up on that because that's a very important thing. What does the left do to counterweight this? So we'll be back in a second. Welcome back. So we were talking obviously about the media machine, and one of the things we also should be mentioning too is social media, the impact of social media. Facebook, what was once Twitter is now X. We should just call it cesspool at this point. And Tina, you have some thoughts on that. I know that that I thought are very poignant.
Well, building off of like the whole clavicular being funded by Peter Thiel thing, there's the whole lack of support on the left. There's actually a hostility to this sort of thought process on the left. There's this group called Chorus. I don't know. Are you guys familiar with Chorus? No. Chorus was a group that started after the 24 election. It basically, I don't know where their funding comes from. You can apply to be a member of Chorus. It's like a 4-month, 6-month boot camp where you get paid to basically take classes online to be a better social media influencer. You're not paid to create content that's specific for the support of the Democratic Party. They're just basically supporting it. And, they have, Aaron Parnas was involved in it. I don't think he was paid, but he was involved with it a little bit on the periphery. There's a lot of the bigger left-wing kind of media people were participating in it. And full disclosure, I applied this year. I did not get accepted for the program. I will apply.
Their loss.
But I'll apply again, for the next I think they call it a cohort.
Yep.
Yeah. Because I think it's a great thing. It just teaches you how to do social media better and more effectively. But it came out that these people had been paid by Chorus to, take these classes. And the left, people on the left just were enraged. They're saying these people are bought and paid for by the Democratic Party, blah, 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 blah. And they attacked people who were part of Chorus. In particular, they went after Aaron Parnas, but also some of the Black women in particular and the women in particular who were on here. They seem to suffer a little bit more. And it's just sort of this whole, not only is the left not, helping build an echo chamber to counterweight the right, but when they make even a small effort to do so, they get attacked and vilified for it, which is problematic. And one final point is that we have to start talking really intentionally, not just with our children, but with each other about how we are going to navigate a future with all of this different media. And as I was saying, I think some of the European countries have started teaching media skills in school so that people know how to spot misinformation and disinformation, which are just endemic or epidemic or whatever on social online. Like we were talking about the Mitch McConnell photo, and people swear up and down that they saw somebody on social media who proves that Mitch McConnell photo is AI, so he's dead. Meanwhile, reputable people who actually are trained in spotting fake photos have been like, no, the photo's real. Sorry, guys, he's alive. Right?
Yeah. I think that also you have to look at the motivation of people behind the social media. So you have, Facebook and Zuckerberg, and you have X and Musk, and there's no incentive for them to promote real media literacy because media illiteracy plays into exactly what they're looking to do. Oh. And so you mentioning about, creating a left version, a left version of all of this. I mean,
A counterweight.
a counterweight.
Yeah.
And if you go and you look back, sort of I want to call it bipartisan or non-biased or whatever you want to call it, media, journalism, whatever you want to call it, press, that we had basically from post World War II until the end of the Cold War, so during the Cold War era, is relatively unique in American history, because if you go back beforehand and you go back since,
Yellow journalism.
you had very all the news sources were biased towards a particular viewpoint, and in fact to the point where the newspapers would carry the party names on them. We in this area and where we're at, the city of Waterbury, which is not far from here, had a newspaper called the Waterbury Republican.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But they also, for a long time, had a newspaper called the Waterbury Democrat.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. And this was just an example. One city, and a small city at that had two newspapers at the time, but one of them gave a viewpoint from the Republican side, one viewpoint from the Democratic side. In today's environment, we get the view of this right-wing propaganda machine. And on the other hand, what are we getting? It's sort of a mishmash of different sources, whether some of them are reliable, good, proven journalistic sources, but there's others that are corporate media owned. If you want to look at CBS, for example, where can you really fully rely on what CBS is trying to tell you? They're trying to say they're being unbiased, but you can clearly see there is a bias pouring through it. Where can you trust your media sources? So I would say, you guys were talking about what sources you trust today, but do we have to get to the point where we look at who owns these media companies to be able to say whether they're reliable any longer?
Absolutely. Like if you think about, Koch Media, and the fact that like that family owns so many sources of like our media, and that means that they can kind of control what the narrative or where like the threads are being pulled. I just lost it in my brain now. But thinking about like when the News Times, who owns the News Times? Hearst.
Yeah, Hearst. Yes, Hearst.
That's like another one, like where it's like, okay, like these are very like, and I hate to be this way, but I'm like, when very rich people own things, I always then think about like, okay, so what is in the best interest of that family? What is in the best interest of, because like they're families, they're like, for lack of a better word, they're dragons. They're hoarding wealth, and all of that wealth comes.
Well, Bezos is an example of this too with the Washington Post. I mean, Bezos bought the Washington Post. He made the claim that he was going to be, focus on having a quality journalism, democracy dies in the dark, and all that sort of stuff. And then
he actually got rid of that tagline, democracy dies in the dark.
Right.
And I think another one of the problems is that even, because people distrust journalists, right? They, a lot of people have canceled the Washington Post, canceled the New York Times, canceled. And yes, I agree that it's problematic. These people are sitting here with all this wealth, but also if we all stop subscribing to the New York Times, then they will not have any money to hire real journalists who do the real work of journalism and, do the real digging and stuff like that. So it's a bit of and by the way, the reason their opinion pages are such shit is because they get all the clicks. And so the things that go viral, and the New York Times knows this, and I'm using the New York Times because that's my paper of choice. But the New York Times, the vast majority of what they write is high level journalism that is really reputable. But where they're making their money is the opinion pages that people, they either share it because they agree with it, or they share it because they're angry about it.
Yeah. Right.
And so we're actually rewarding the New York Times for having crazy opinion pieces.
Yeah.
And we're not rewarding them for doing actual journalism.
I have a hard. I mean, I understand where people are coming from when they cancel. You know, they cancel the Washington Post subscription. I mean, I did. I had a Washington Post subscription, and I said no. I didn't want to put money into Bezos' pocket, and he has gutted
The editorial.
Not even beyond that. He started. They've now gone into. It's sort of like how what's happened with CBS too, with CBS News, and how they're going after the actual journalistic portions of this. CBS News is doing it more so because of the Ellisons and that whole thing. And that's actually important to all this too, because it's who owns this media is, as you say, they go after the clicks. They go after what people want to see, because that's where the advertisers want to go to. That's where all of the eyeballs get attached to. But we have to counterweight that somehow. And since we have our issues, as you mentioned before, of people, if you try to get everybody together and you get funded, all of a sudden you get all of the activists to get very upset about it. Is the answer to this is finding it more in a grassroots way and finding it in influencers on our own side that can build out an independent media? Or is it just, I mean, I'm thinking it's going to be a very costly effort to try to do it, but I think it may be something we have to do in the absence of anything else.
Where's the money coming from? Because you got to get paid. You got to get paid.
Yeah.
You got to get paid.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, Tina and I can talk about this, Threads.
Mm-hmm.
When I got onto Threads, I was excited because it was what X was when X was Twitter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was fast moving. You found people, the random people, we talk about Threads lore and stuff like that. And it's the algorithm, you can see how fast the algorithm works in that kind of platform, because you'll be looking at you've liked something, and then as you scroll a little bit further down, there's another, something pops up.
My Threads is all Bellingham right now. And it's wonderful. Yeah.
So, but that's the kind of thing here where, again, this goes back to AI.
Mm-hmm.
And once you start clicking or sharing, then it starts sending you more of that.
Yeah.
Which creates that echo chamber.
The echo chamber.
You don't even have to like the thing. If you go and you read it, if you just click on it to read, whatever somebody posts, just read their full post and see a few responses. You don't have to like it. You don't have to anything. You have to add to it. All of a sudden now, I'll give you an example of this. So some people were putting posts about Caitlin Clark. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And there was a video, and but the video was silent, so I clicked to hear the video. That's all I did was to click to hear the video. I didn't really care about the subject or anything like that. But she's shouting, and so I'm just trying to see what was happening, because the actual post didn't give a lot of information, a lot of context. So that was okay. So all right, I wasn't really interested, so I kept going, and then all of a sudden, Caitlin Clark, over and over and over and over again. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I thank you, I'm done. Okay, I don't need this anymore.
And then people think that because they're seeing so much of it in their feed, they think everybody must know about this thing that's happening.
Right, because I just mentioned it to you guys, right? Did you guys have any idea what I was talking about with Caitlin Clark at all?
Is that the basketball player?
Yeah, yes. Okay, so this is a good.
I'm she's like a meme now. This,
But no, that's a different. That's a different
one.
One.
Okay,
but do you know who Bellingham is?
No,
whereas my entire feed is Bellingham. He's a very, very, very skilled and very attractive British footballer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So okay, that'd be like me, and I'm looking up baseball, and I'm following Yankee stuff, and all of a sudden I'll get Yankee stuff coming up. It's all fits into what the algorithm thinks is in your interest, and so it just feeds that, and because it's feeding that, as you say, it puts us in that echo chamber. Now, if you're consuming a particular source of media that says the 2020 election was stolen, and then you have the lunatic president, if you want to call him that. I don't like to, but he I guess, going on live television and saying to everybody that the election was stolen. And by the way, we're almost done with today's show, but I want to just bring this thing up for a second, okay? So the other night, for everybody out there who maybe didn't see it, Trump went on television and talked about how the election was so his usual grievances and used it as a public address. And the only reason why I want to bring this up for this particular thing was because it was interesting in how it was covered, because NBC, ABC, and CNN did not cover it. And
I thought CBS also cut out in the middle.
I had it on CBS. Okay. So I didn't really want to watch it, but my daughter wanted to watch it, so we watched it. And they joined in late, and then they cut out early. And he was still rambling on that a while after that was going on. And Fox News the next day did not discuss the speech at all. They didn't even discuss it. And why wouldn't they discuss? It was discussed by the networks that didn't cover it, but Fox didn't discuss it. Now, why do you think they didn't discuss it? Because it was terrible.
It was terrible.
It made them look terrible. My opinion. That's why they said, "Hey, why are we going to talk about this?" Plus, if you remember, they lost $745 million in a lawsuit when Dominion sued them about election lies, and here was this lunatic going up there talking about it. So
I think it comes back though to, and it's a really interesting point, but we're not all entitled to our own facts.
Right.
We can all have our own opinions, but the fact is nobody knows what the facts are anymore, and that's what's causing harm to our democracy.
Yes.
Really bad harm to our democracy.
Right. And I think that part of what the responsibility of people like us, people like you, who does influencing work, people who go out there, who try to find the truth using aggregate sources, or try to get the word out there, using those algorithms that the social media forces on us to try to project something positive and something that can be constructive and fix the problems that we face and address the issues that people have, and to tell people the truth of what's actually happening. I think that right now that's maybe the only way we can go until the more serious money ends up in our midst to be able to do it. But that's the unfortunate part, is that all this propaganda, it costs them a ton of money, and to counter that propaganda, it costs a ton of money too. So hopefully we can resolve this at some point soon.
I almost wish that we could do the same thing that we've done with elections, where we have the citizens election program, where you take PAC money out of it. If there was a way to kind of crowdfund.
Right. So that's in Connecticut. In Connecticut, we have a citizens election program where we have basically there's a funding mechanism that uses unclaimed money and property that's in dollars that eventually uses to fund elections. And we actually should talk. Elections is going to be a future topic that we're going to have, because obviously with what the Orange Blob said the other day needs to kind of be I think discussed in greater depth as a counter. But
sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I can't believe that we haven't really talked about PBS.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, public broadcasting. I'm oh yeah, I wish we had crowdfunded media. Hello,
we do have
PBS.
Yes, that's right. And since the federal government has kind of stepped away from it, hey, let that be completely that way. Yeah. So, well, I think this was a good discussion. This is not going to be the only time we discuss this, I'm sure, but it's a good topic, and let us know what you think. Please like and subscribe. I can't believe I have to say those words. I feel please like and subscribe.
Smash that like button.
But also like, comment, and share.
Yeah, comment, and share. Yes, please share widely, because we want to get your feedback. These conversations are not just reflective of what we think, but also reflective of what hopefully you're thinking as well, and can get more conversations going as we go. So until our next episode, we say goodbye for now.
Bye.
Bye.